Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm here to talk about Volkite Contemptor Dreadnoughts in 40k 9th edition. 40k has been in an odd spot, so to speak, ever since the pandemic last year, which unfortunately affected the timeline of 9th edition releases, even the game system in general, as an edition in general. Now, whether that caused delays or not on new Army Codex releases, I guess we'll just never know, but let's assume that it did, since everything pretty much got delayed, including the edition itself. Players had to and are still finding creative ways to make their outdated 8th edition books work and keep up with the undeniable power creep which came with each new 9th edition Codex release, starting with Space Marines, Necrons, of course the Space Marine supplements such as Blood Angels, Dark Angels. Then you've got Death Guard, which entered in and paved the path to what I believe is going to be the Chaos Standard. And of course, most recently, Drukhari, who's coming in hot. Before we start, if you want to learn about how to assemble and magnetize Horus Heresy Contemptor models with Volkite Culverin bits, be sure to check out the how-to video linked right here. I'll also post it in the description below. In Death Guard specifically, Chaos Contemptor Dreadnoughts equipped with 2 twin Volkite Culverin was an absolute game changer for me personally within my playstyle. Now, it's quite well known that Death Guard became a force to be reckoned with as soon as the new Codex dropped and received all the amazing bonuses and changes that the book brought, but I was still searching to fill a void myself. What really spurred my search for even more optimal backline shooting was my own spite and salt of losing out on vehicle and demon engine rerolls due to the, of course, core keyword mechanic. For my first RTT of this year in 2021 was in January, which is roughly 2 weeks after the Death Guard Codex was released. I ran a configuration which had 2 Plague Burst Crawlers and 2 Hell Brutes, because core, outfitted with Meltas and twin Las Cannons. It didn't quite work the way I intended to, but I still performed well with only losing out to an extremely optimized AdMech list, but also losing out onto timing, so I couldn't quite get to turns 4 and 5, and this was my own being out of competitive shape, let's call it. Fast forward to 3 months later, which is today, where since then I participated in yet another RTT back in February, as well as my local ITC league, which usually consists of approximately 50 to 60 players. I worked my way up and placed myself in the top 8 ranks, so I had to keep up with the highly experienced players within my local meta. I held my weight to say the least, but there's more that I need to figure out myself before the next season starts. All right, on to the good stuff. Here's the basic rundown of what Forge World Volkite Contemptors can do for your army within your lists. When you add this unit into your Chaos or Imperium army, you gain your army keyword as long as they're part of of your Battleforge detachment. For example, if you include a Relic Contemptor into your Ultramarines attachment, which takes up an elite slot, mind you, they will gain the Ultramarines main chapter tactics in addition to the standard Space Marine doctrine benefits because they become keyword Ultramarines. In the same regard, if you add the Chaos Contemptor into your Death Guard army, they gain keyword Death Guard. Keep in mind, many of an army's codex abilities, or many of a unit's abilities, come from specific datasheet profiles, so some things like Contagions of Nurgle and Disgustingly Resilient won't be applied since it's not on their actual specific data sheet, so keep an eye out for that. You'll also have to pay attention to codex-specific secondary scoring, such as keyword Bubonic Astartes. Now, if you tend to run that in Death Guard and choose that secondary, yeah, you have to be very, very careful as to which units are applicable. Also keep in mind, for each unit from the Armored Compendium you include, you are paying a tax of 1 CP to include them in your detachment, in this case specifically the Contemptor Dreadnought or the Chaos Contemptor Dreadnought. Now, the base Contemptor costs a measly 150 points for weapon skill and a ballistic skill of a 3-up. He's a strength 7, toughness 7 model, which has a 3-up save, 5-up invul, and 9 wounds. Not to mention, Dreadnoughts now reduce incoming damage character 6/1. Now you pay 5 points more for a Volkite arm, or a Volkite Culverin arm, to replace the standard heavy plasma cannons, and hello, you're blasting out 16 strength 6 2 damage shots. Yeah, there's no AP, but who cares since you're fishing for 6s on your wound roll to generate mortal wounds in addition to any damage that goes through. For another 25 points, you can top mount a Hellforge Cyclone missile launcher, which has 2 attack profiles, a frag and a crack, for some additional fire support. Now, a lot of people do like running the conversion beam cannons or aka the C-beams as well, but the other profiles, I personally don't see as much benefit in what you get compared to the sheer shot output or the volume and quality of shots that you're getting out of the Volkite Culverins. What is great about Chaos Contemptors, specifically in Death Guard armies, are the combinations and the combos you have access to unlock, as well as just basic Death Guard capabilities that you have. Death Guard specifically has a Fetid Virion rule, which allows taking 3 support characters in a single elite shot, so it doesn't take up as much space. Given that you shouldn't leave home without a minimum of 2 support characters anyway, this is fantastic. Another great synergy with Death Guard armies actually comes from redundancy of rules, is from what I noticed. Since Contemptors won't have the inexorable advance rule or the disgustingly resilient rule as previously mentioned, the new 9th edition vehicle shooting rules as well as the Dreadnought damage reduction makes this unit actually feel like it belongs within your Death Guard army. So what are some of the synergies to maximize your Volkite Contemptor performance? Naturally, any of your lords in Death Guard will grant a reroll 1 to hit aura for core. My personal play company of choice has been the Inexorable. I fancy that one quite a bit just for the 1 CP to reduce charge ranges. And of course the Warlord trait, we got a lot of haters about that, but the Ferric Blight Warlord trait can be really, really nice in shooty and melee combo lists. What this does is when an enemy is within contagion range of this Warlord with the trait, your entire army targeting those enemy units gain an additional -1 AP. Put this on your Lord of Contagion, which innately has an additional 3 inches of range to his contagion, and you have a largely threatening situation that your opponent has to deal with. Lastly, the Tallyman character, this Tallyman's so good, gives a 6-inch aura with the relic where 6s to hit generate additional hits for core units. Now, notice the repetitiveness, core here. Now you're sitting back with a 45-inch threat range, walking up your Contemptors next to the Tallyman as needed. Oh, and not to mention, you also can tally a unit, a core unit from your Tallyman to get +1 to hit in your command phase. So now you're rerolling 1s to hit on your Contemptor or Contemptors, hitting on 2s from being tallied, generating extra shots from the Tollkeeper relic, and if you time it right, your Inexorable Warlord trait, Ferric Blight, can grant you that -1 AP on your Volkite shots. Of course, Deep Strike shenanigans. All of this for 150 points, plus your characters, which you were going to take anyway. But not to mention the Cyclone Missile Launcher, if you were to take it, also benefit from the same synergies since your Contemptor is core, meaning that your missile shots will generate into more missile shots on 6s. Obviously not as many opportunities, but it's awesome. Sickly Corrosion it's a CP that costs, or a stratagem that costs 2 CP. Very situational, and it takes a lot of work to actually line that up. You use this stratagem in either the shooting or the fight phase. In this case, we're using it in a shooting, when a keyword Death Guard model from your army makes an attack with a plague weapon. So not the Contemptor, but something else that scores a hit against an enemy unit until the end of the turn. The rest of your army rerolls 1s to wound against that unit. I personally like this one FAQ, but to my understanding, unless of course I'm missing something, which is possible, you can split fire from the unit, from the one with the plague weapon that you're shooting from to target multiple units. But I don't see a reason why you can't. So now this makes the Volkite Culverins re-roll 1s to wound in addition to, and so you get that secondary layer of trying to fish for 6s. Space Marine chapters also benefit greatly from Volkite Contemptors, maybe not as much, but we'll see. And with their innate ability to manipulate doctrines, i.e. adaptive strategy for 2 CP from the Space Marine Codex, you select 1 core unit from your command phase to manipulate and give them that extra AP should you need it. Very, very situational. Chapter bonuses such as Iron Hands granting a 6-up Feel No Pain, Salamanders with their reroll traits, or even Raven Guard getting benefit of cover, they'll get a 2-up save as long as the enemy unit shooting at you is over 18 inches away. These are all terrific buffs, and they can certainly fill any kind of void that you're missing. Now, add these bad boys into Dark Angels, and as long as they don't move, they get a natural +1 to hit, so it's basically like being tallied in Death Guard. in addition to any other combinations that Dark Angels can provide. I'd say Dark Angels might currently have the best chapter tactic for Relic Contemptors, especially consider the rest of the army will either be zooming up the board, especially your Jink units, actually advancing up, while the Contemptors can hold objectives in your home zone and just blast out some shots. Overall, I think Contemptor Dreads have a whole lot of utility for what many consider undercosted, which they probably are a little bit, but certainly aren't auto takes. It all depends on how and what you want to build your own list style into. I'm a little biased since I've found extremely efficient utility in running 2 Contemptors in my competitive Death Guard plays. Actually, in some cases, I just don't even take any other vehicles should I opt for the top-mounted missile launchers. I mean, they're kind of that good, and you get to re-roll because they're core. That's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. For more content, stay subscribed and join the conversation in the comments below. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.